Nothing's lonelier than a party. Good thing I don't need anyone, or I might feel lonesome.
There's this question that comes up over and over again in BoJack Horseman. Am I a good person? And for BoJack, the answer isn't simple. It's easy to look at his story and say, of course not. He ruined lives, he hurt people, but that's only part of the truth. Because the thing is, BoJack wasn't always this bad. He wasn't born selfish. He wasn't always manipulative. There was a time when he actually tried to be better. But somewhere along the way, his morality didn't just slip. It completely collapsed. So let's explore the rise and fall of BoJack's morality. But before we do, subscribe if you think BoJack would have definitely found a way to make his downfall someone else's fault.
I know that I can be selfish and narcissistic and self-destructive, but underneath all that, deep down, I'm a good person and I need you to tell me that I'm good.
Believe it or not, BoJack didn't start out as a bad person. In his early days, he had something that could have been a moral compass. He wasn't perfect, but he wasn't this broken. One of the best examples? His friendship with Herb Gazaz. Before Hollywood changed him, BoJack was loyal. He had someone who believed in him, and for a while, he believed in himself too. Then there's Sarah Lynn. It's easy to say BoJack ruined her, but at the start, he actually tried to warn her. He told her how Hollywood destroys people. He didn't want her to end up like him, and even in the later seasons, there are small moments where BoJack wants to do the right thing. He encourages Princess Carolyn's career. He shows flashes of real remorse when he hurts Diane. He even tries to take accountability for the worst things he's done. But here's the thing. BoJack's morality never stays stable. Because no matter how much he wants to be good, he always picks the easy way out. And that's when things start to fall apart. If there was ever a single moment when BoJack's morality could have survived, it was this one, when he betrayed Herb. This is where BoJack made his first real moral compromise. He chose fame over friendship, his career over loyalty. And once you make that kind of choice, it becomes easier to do it again. That's why, after Herb, his morality only went downhill. At first, it was small things. He would manipulate Todd, sabotage relationships, and make selfish decisions. But the more he did it, the more natural it became. And then we reach New Mexico.
Hey, who do you work for? Well, I sure as hell don't work for tips.
This was the moment where BoJack should have stopped himself. Every instinct should have told him this is wrong. And for a second, you even see him hesitate. But he ignored it. The New Mexico incident is one of the darkest moments in the show. Not just because of what almost happened, but because it proves something about BoJack.
I'll be back. You wait right here.
Come on, lover boy.
He will always push the boundaries of morality, as long as no one stops him. And after that, his morality was never the same. Because after New Mexico, BoJack didn't just make bad choices. He started ruining people's lives. And Sarah Lynn, that was his worst mistake yet. He didn't just fail her, he enabled her. He encouraged her and pushed her even deeper into addiction. When she needed a friend, he became the worst possible influence. And the worst part? He disappeared for months before even checking in on her family. Because if BoJack is good at anything, it's running away from the consequences of his own actions. At this point, BoJack wasn't just selfish, he was dangerous, and the people around him were starting to realize it.
You have to live with the shitty thing you did for the rest of your life.
He kept making the same choices over and over, and by season 5, BoJack's morality was gone. This wasn't just selfishness, this wasn't just manipulation, this was violence. BoJack wasn't just hurting people emotionally anymore, he was physically dangerous. And for the first time, his actions were public. The final season forces BoJack to face his past. He wanted to believe he was redeemable, that his worst mistakes didn't define him, but in the end, he wasn't being punished for one thing. He was being punished for years of choices that led him here. Because here's the truth, BoJack wasn't always a monster. He had chances to be better. He had people who believed in him. But the moment he stopped believing in himself, he let his morality disappear completely.
I don't want that life. That person, that's not who I am.
And once you go far enough down that road, there's no coming back. There's a difference between making mistakes and becoming unredeemable. BoJack spent years pushing his luck, hurting people, and running from consequences.
Okay, love you. No, I don't.
But by season 5, his morality wasn't just broken, it was dangerous. The Gina incident is proof that BoJack no longer had control over himself. His addiction, his guilt, his unresolved trauma, it all built up until he physically harmed someone who didn't deserve it. And the worst part? She didn't even want to talk about it. Gina knew BoJack's reputation, and she knew the moment the world found out what he did, she would be the one suffering for it. So once again, BoJack avoided consequences, but not for long. By the time season 6 arrives, BoJack is finally forced to face reality. Every terrible thing he's done is out in the open. For the first time in his life, BoJack has nowhere to hide, and he tries to take responsibility. He goes to rehab, he starts rebuilding his life, but does that actually mean anything? The show doesn't give us a clear answer. Instead, it gives us this: the view from halfway down, a hallucination, a near-death experience, a moment where BoJack finally confronts every person he's lost. For a second, it seems like this could be his ending, that BoJack dies alone, the same way he lived, full of regrets. But then, the show does something unexpected. It lets BoJack live, not for redemption, not for forgiveness, but to prove that sometimes the worst punishment isn't death or prison or public humiliation. Sometimes the worst punishment is having to live with yourself. So was BoJack always this bad? No. There was a time when he still had a moral compass, when he wanted to be better, when he had every opportunity to make different choices. But morality isn't just about what you want to be, it's about what you do. And BoJack? He let himself become this version of himself, one bad decision at a time. That's what makes his story so tragic, because at the end of the day, he didn't need to be this person.
You're a millionaire movie star with a girlfriend who loves you, acting in your dream movie. What more do you want?
Every mistake he made seemed small in the moment, but over time, they defined him. And that's the real life lesson here. Morality isn't about who you are deep down, it's about the choices you make every day. You don't just wake up as a bad person, it happens slowly, in ways you barely notice, until one day, there's no turning back. So the question isn't just, was BoJack always this bad? The real question is, how do we stop ourselves from ending up like him? But what do you think? Could BoJack ever have truly changed? Or was his downfall always inevitable? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you think BoJack's story wasn't just about his downfall, but about what happens when you ignore the warning signs.